Bruno, the first league win at Old Trafford this season. Is there a feeling of relief after that? What are your thoughts?
I think, of course, it's really important to us winning this game. First of all, not because it's the first win at Old Trafford, but because we need points in the league. It was a tough game. I think we can do much better. We create a lot, but we have to do. I think we have qualities to do much better.
You're involved in both penalties. Just the first one, you look pretty adamant that you got the ball rather than that. Just give us your
yeah. Because I feel in the first moment I touched the ball, and after I touch the ball is the second contact. I think I don't see the image, but what I feel in the moment was I touched first the ball and after the player.
And at the other end, what is the thought process when you have to retake a penalty that you missed just moments earlier?
It's not good. It's not good because you need to do on the first one. Doesn't matter if the keeper comes out of the line. I'm not happy because I scored the second one, but I need to score the first one. But at this point, the most important is the 3 points. It doesn't matter how.
Just a case of perhaps feeling job done tonight after the international break.
Yeah, that is the point. 3 points was the most important today, and I think the job is done, but we know we can do much better, and we will do for sure.
And moving on from here, Başakşehir next. There is a feeling that you need to redeem yourself after the first result in Turkey.
No, it doesn't matter the result in Turkey. Now we know we have to win. We need points in the Champions League to keep in the first place, and this is what we will do.
Thanks, Bruno.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, well done to him. He's the man who took advantage of the penalty that was awarded, but we need to talk about the penalty that was and then subsequently wasn't awarded. Peter Walton's part of our team this evening. Look, Peter, we're going to get right into this because there seems to now be a situation where the referee, for the second time today, it also happened in the match earlier on with Aston Villa, has gone across to a pitch-side monitor when it doesn't feel like a clear and obvious error. What's going on with this clear and obvious thing, first of all? Is that out the window now? Does VAR just look at everything?
No, the law hasn't changed and the interpretation of VAR hasn't changed. It does state clearly that it should be a clear and obvious error made by the match referee. And in both occasions that you've spoken about, the one at Manchester and the one at Villa Park today, personally, I didn't think there was a clear and obvious error in either of them, and I still think the penalties should have been awarded.
OK, so what's happened here then? Once he's awarded the penalty, the referee has been asked by VAR to go back and look at his own decision. Look, we were asking last season to use the pitch-side monitors more often, Peter, but not to overturn what feel like good decisions.
No, that's exactly right, Jake. And again, I'll go back to that word I keep banding about clear and obvious. I don't think the VAR should have got involved. In doing so, the VAR is introducing his own subjective viewpoint to it. And when he asked the referee to go over to that pitch-side monitor, by inference, he's already putting pressure on the referee because the referee is going over there thinking he may have missed something or got something wrong. So really, by doing that, they're lowering the consistency level that VAR is actually out to gain. So for me, Peter, I don't think he should have asked him to go over.
Either explaining it or looking at it anymore, it's a disgraceful decision. It's a completely disgrace. He got it right first way round. He's gone there looking at it. How do you actually go against your decision that you made initially when you're looking at it closely in slow-mo? The more you look at it, the more it's a pen.
Yeah, Rio, you're right. I'm not arguing with you. I think it's a shin on shin. I think Glenn Hoddle mentioned that in matchday commentary. What's gone, in my opinion, there is that he's put pressure on the referee, the VAR, to go over to that monitor. Then he stood there. You can look in slow motion on the VAR, and that's already pressurising the situation. And I think David Coote there was not talked into a situation changing. He was misled in terms of going over there in the first place. I don't think he should have done.
Go on, Paul.
Look, I've seen it about 50 times. I still can't make my mind up, to be honest. I know it does look like a little bit of shin on shin, but it always looks...
Obviously, don't lie.
Honestly,
don't lie.
Look at him. Look, it does look like he touches the ball as well, just a little bit. And if from another angle, you can see Bruno's reaction straight away to go and complain to the referee that I didn't actually foul him.
Mate, I used to complain about
I do
everything.
that, yeah. We'd all do that, of course he would, but... Look, I don't think it's totally conclusive.
Can I come back on that one, Paul?
Go on.
Paul, I'd like to come back on that because that's exactly what the point is. It wasn't clear and obvious. You're arguing maybe one way, I'm arguing maybe the other way, and really VAR there is to make sure the referee doesn't make a right ricket. He didn't in that instance.
Exactly.
Where do we go from here then now? Because if you're looking at little decisions like that, will managers and players will be asking the referees to constantly go to the pitch side monitor? They're setting a precedent.
That's what will happen. You are setting a precedent, and I think you're setting a poor precedent in that. You know, we want the game to be played in the manner that we all love, and that's part of the game is opinion. Leave the opinion in, the subjectivity in, and only interfere when there's an obvious error, such as the hand of God. And I will cite that because that's exactly what VAR was introduced for, the hand of God. It wasn't introduced to forensically analyse every decision.
I agree totally.
I know that obviously Paul remains to be convinced about whether that was a penalty. You are absolutely convinced that it should have been a penalty. We thought that maybe the referee hadn't been given necessary angles to get the decision right. But when you see what he saw, which is the same as what we're looking at, it's all there, isn't it?
Yeah, it's there. I think it's plain and simple to see. I think you've got to look at it from a West Brom point of view as well. They've come here, they've been tight, they've been a solid unit, they've kept to their game plan, and they're looking for little opportunities in a game like that. They get one, and it gets taken from under their feet, from under their noses. It's unbelievable, and I just think that, listen, if it was a decision like Peter said, where you had to go to VAR because you didn't understand, if I didn't really see if it was the right decision, or there was a bit of an error there, that was so clear. That's not what VAR's for,
I'm not sure it was that clear.
Scorsese, you would have screamed for everything in the game. I used to do it the same as well.
Yeah, of course, but I'm not sure that's that clear. Even from
but then if it's not that clear, it's not clear and obvious, is it? So then it doesn't fall into the parameters of looking at it.
We're going from disaster to disaster week in, week out.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
I mean,
they're not going to get rid of it. Of course they're not. But it's just going from one disaster to another. Whether it's at Villa Park today or wherever it was, whether it's Old Trafford today, week on week, it's just going. Yeah. It's just disastrous.
It's a good point, actually, Peter. There was a feeling that maybe this season they'd just sharpen it up a little bit with VAR. We discussed it on air and said, yeah, it's feeling better. Last 2 or 3 weeks has not been good.
Yes, I think what's happened was when we asked for the referee to go over to have a look at the monitor to make sure that everybody saw who was making that decision, that was the correct way to go about it. What's happened in the last couple of games, as I've seen, is that threshold has been lowered far too low, and now they're bringing in the subjectivity aspect of it. That's not what VAR's for.
When they decided, or when he decided that that's not a penalty, was the opportunity there to go back a little bit to where we think there might have been a foul involving Harry Maguire? And Paul has said that if the West Brom player goes down here, it would have been a red card. Yeah.
It could have been a red card, but I don't think there's enough there, for VAR to get involved, because I've just explained the point about a clear and obvious error. Yes, there's a slight tug. Does it impede the player? I'm not sure about that, and that's why it wasn't looked at or wasn't formally reviewed.
I don't agree with Peter, Jake, as you probably see by my face. I think he does touch him. Yeah. Like it's clear he touches him, but I know Peter's saying it's not enough, but it is enough. Well, once you get that little nudge, all of a sudden you're off balance. You just can't move forward, and probably a wiser forward probably would have gone down. Okay, he wasn't in the box, but he'd have got a red card, and he gave his team a great chance to win the game. And
it's a reminder that we hate seeing players go down too easily. They get criticised for it, but actually if you don't go down, then they don't get given often.
Well, he's too honest. I can only think he's not gone down because he wasn't in the box.
Yeah.
That is the only reason. But if he thinks about it again, it's a sending off.
Then we come to a penalty at the other end. The question now is, should the penalty at the other end have been awarded initially? Because we believe there was a foul on Conor Gallagher in the build-up to it. And if you're looking at every incident now, this should have been looked at.
Well, this is another stonewaller for me. I think it's the ball comes out here, he takes a touch here. Maybe he shouldn't have took a touch, but there's a clear foul there. There were so many fouls like that given for Man United today. And listen, I want Man United to win, but as a fan, but that's a foul. And then obviously the phaser play goes on, and you can't really argue in today's rules in terms of the handball, but that's a foul. I mean, it's a cheap foul.
I'm not. Yeah, I was just thinking if Peter's still there, how far can you actually go back? Yeah. That's only just before the main penalty incident, Peter. It's
right. So you that's a good point to make, Paul. You go back to what they class as the attacking phase of play. It's when they win the ball and make that final pass through. I do think that falls into the attacking phase of play, and as we've seen at the other end, where the penalty kick was awarded for a foul, I do think that was a foul there where he's come from behind, he's clipped his heels, he's fallen over, and they've won possession by a foul practice. I do think that should have been looked at.
Just remind us very quickly, Peter, how many people are at VAR looking at that as well as the referee? here? How many people have taken a look at that?
So there'll be two people. Look, there'll be two people. There'll be the VAR and what's called the assistant VAR. Right. So there's two people looking at every instance that we are reviewing, and then if you introduce the referee, there's three eyes. Plus the fact you've got two assistants there and a fourth official on the game. So there's a significant amount of officials looking at every challenge.
Well, somebody should have seen that, shouldn't they?
Yeah, that's what I was
we said
say.
as the game was going on, as it was live, we thought that's a foul.
Yeah, and if someone at Stockley Park there, would they have gone back to that incident and looked at that? Would they have pushed that to the referee?
I don't think they just did they, Peter? It looks like 5 pairs of eyes were on that, and the moment was ignored.
As part of the protocol, every instance when the VAR is looking at, so a penalty kick, as was awarded, has to be looked at, and the VAR should go back to the attacking phase of play and run the tape through, as we've just done there, and identify whether or not there's any ill practice between winning the ball and the handball. And I think there was, and I think that was missed.
But that's my problem and concern with VAR, is that as fans, as pundits, in the game, we don't get to see exactly what they're looking at. We should be able to see exactly what they're looking about and what they're discussing for us to have a clear idea of actually they have seen that, they've deemed it not a foul, so we can move on. And there's a lot of grey areas here for us to keep. We could stand there chatting for an hour about this.
Isn't it time, Peter, to treat us like adults and just let us see the angles and hear the conversation? And this isn't trying to catch out people at Stockley Park or referees. This is so that we understand the decisions they're making and how hard their job is. I think it would improve.
Jake, I think they have let us see the angles today, haven't they? We've seen exactly what the referee has seen. I don't think that's a problem.
But don't you want to hear the conversation?
The thing we don't know is why the referee's not being alerted to the fact that Fred just fouled him. Why? Whose job is that to go to him and say, look, you need to go back and look at a free kick or a possible foul? Is that someone in the Stockley Park? Surely it should be people here who can see that. We can all see
saw
that
it straight away.
as exactly as it's live.
Even the way that they asked the referee to go back to the screen, you know, when it was the foul.
But there are other sports, and we hear it constantly over the time where you hear that conversation going on. Yeah. You see the visuals that they're looking at live. That's a big factor in actually getting the grey areas out of the way.
Do it. It humanises referees. It would work well. Let's have a look then at the handball. The way the rules are now, Peter, there really is no debate about it, is there?
No, there's no debate, and in fairness to the Premier League, they've already introduced a sort of a slight twist on the handball where they're taking into account the distance and the proximity to the player. But really, what's hung him out to dry there was his arms were up, and he's moved his body away. So really, he's not looking at the ball. He's just put his arms there in the hope that the ball doesn't strike his arm. And really, there's no mitigation there. I think it's a penalty kick and the right decision under the current interpretation of the law.
Yeah, I think that's the important part. The current interpretation of the law, it's a penalty, but in our day, it's never a penalty. You're screaming and shouting about it.
Glenn Hoddle said in commentary, the only way you can defend is put your hands behind your back. It's the only way you can do it.
Yeah.
And if you're a clever enough forward, you just smack the ball against their hands.
Defenders are at a massive disadvantage nowadays, I'm telling you.
Well, and this is a disadvantage for the goalkeepers. You can't come off your line. If you come off just a little bit, it gets retaken. And again, Sam Johnson knows the rules. He knows the situation.
Yeah, they can't complain about that. This is the only one the man in the screen got right today, to be honest with you. So, and the second one, composure, puts it the other side of the keeper. But yeah, listen, again, we spoke about Bruno being the man to step up and take responsibility. Today, done that.
OK. Thank you very much for joining us.